When we hear the word fossil, we usually picture ancient creatures like dinosaurs and trilobites trapped in amber or stone. And it's true that fossils tell us much about the history of life on Earth. But you wouldn't necessarily expect to find any in the depths of the ocean today. Yet there's an animal that lives in our oceans right now that's been around for so long it's been called a living fossil. I'm talking about the coelacanth. Coelacanths are strange, scaly fish that live deep underwater and haven't really changed at all over the past 100 million years. So how have they managed to survive for so long? Hi, it's me, and this is Unmolding Science. This lobe-finned fish has existed in its current form since the dinosaurs roamed the Earth. Coelacanths are part of a group of fish that diverged from other fish and went their separate ways some 365 million years ago. It was thought they'd gone extinct until one was caught off the coast of Indonesia in 1938. Since then, scientists have found around 200 individuals across the Indian Ocean, mostly off the coast of Africa. Because they live so deep down, not much is known about them. They tend to live between 200 and 1,000 meters below the surface and rarely come up higher. This makes sense because they're not equipped to deal with the bright lights and thinner pressures of the upper ocean. They also don't seem to migrate very far. In fact, for a long time, scientists believed that they were completely non-migratory, meaning they spend their whole lives in one area. But new data suggests that at least some individuals do migrate vertically, moving up and down depending on the season. It's difficult to track these migrations because the animals themselves are hard to spot. The reason they've been able to remain relatively unchanged for so long may have something to do with just how elusive they are. Part of the reason coelacanths have been so successful could be that they're not super picky about their habitat, being able to live in both cold and warm waters, as well as both shallow and deep waters, as long as they have enough oxygen. But it's not just this adaptability that's kept them alive all this time. After all, many animals adapt to changes in their environment, but those adaptations don't always result in survival. Coelacanths may also benefit from the fact that they're just not very interesting to most predators. They are particularly tasty, nor do they offer much in the way of nutrition. Maybe it's their bony armor or the toxicity of their skin secretions, which is another adaptation that helps them survive. Most sea creatures leave them alone, giving them a chance to thrive. So it's clear that they've survived for a long time because of a combination of factors, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they've thrived during that time. Unfortunately, though, it seems like they have. According to a study published in 2022, they actually have had a population explosion about 15 million years ago. To reach this conclusion, the authors looked at the structure of growth rings inside the ear bones of 6 specimens collected between 1970 and 2020. You see, just like trees add a ring to their trunks each year they're alive, adding more tissue to their skeletons each year, coelacanths add a ring to their ear bones. Although the number of rings doesn't always correspond to a year of life, in general, the rings reflect changes in environmental conditions. When the water temperature rises, the fish's otolith, its inner ear bone, records it with a thicker band. When the temperature drops, it records it with a thinner band. By looking at the width of the bands, the researchers reconstructed the temperature regime of the ocean around the coelacanth's habitat over the last 15 million years and compared that to the genetic diversity of the species. This allowed them to estimate how quickly the population was changing over time. What they found was a big increase in population size around 15 million years ago. That means either the species went through a rapid evolution or, like the case with the elephant, their population simply exploded. But why did this happen? Well, the researchers aren't sure. They suggest that maybe global cooling allowed the coelacanths to expand their range into warmer waters. The thing is, though, there's no way to tell for sure. This study was purely correlational. While the authors could look at the growth rings of the otolith, they couldn't run experiments to confirm what each ring meant. They could only infer the ocean temperature based on the shape of the ring. So the next step is to actually measure the temperatures and compare them to the shapes the otolith leaves behind. Once they understand how exactly the otolith grows under different conditions, they can better understand the population dynamics of the coelacanth and learn more about how this unique fish has survived for so long. These creatures have been described as living fossils because they have remained virtually unchanged for millions of years. But they are not truly fossils. Fossils are the preserved remains or traces of ancient organisms. By definition, that means they have to be dead. Coelacanths, on the other hand, are alive and swimming around. But I think there's a good reason why people call them living fossils. It's because they show us that life forms from the distant past are still here today, even if they're not exactly the same. But even calling them living fossils might not be quite accurate. Fossils help us understand how life on Earth has changed over time. Calling a creature a living fossil implies that it hasn't changed much at all, which isn't always the case. Scientists use the term Lazarus species to describe organisms that appear in the fossil record, go missing, and then reappear later, while coelacanths have been around for a very long time. That doesn't mean they haven't evolved or changed at all. For example, the coelacanth we know today is actually a member of a group of fishes that diverged from other fishes about 365 million years ago. In fact, they've undergone a few changes since they first appeared in the fossil record. They used to have more teeth, but over time, some groups lost their teeth entirely, while others, like the coelacanths, kept just a few. Still, we do call them living fossils, but we could probably come up with a better name. How about Lazarus fish? What's really amazing about the coelacanth is that it's a window into the past. It gives us a glimpse at what life was like when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. But that's only if we remember that it's not the same as the animal that's been around for 100 million years. Over time, this fish has changed in small ways. We just don't know exactly how and in what ways. So rather than calling them a living fossil, we can marvel at the fact that this animal has been here the whole time. It's just that we haven't noticed it. So how many times have you seen a coelacanth in your lifetime? Probably never. But now that you know they exist, keep an eye out. They might surprise you. And thank you for coming on this journey through the deep sea with us. As always, we want to know what you think. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on today's episode. If you liked it, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future episodes.